barely off the coast of Victoria, a couple of hours' drive from Melbourne and located right on the cliffside. The Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit is a popular and classic Australian motorsports venue. Its lap is fairly short, but the speed and flow of this track is unmatched by any other circuit in Australia. Starting and ending with high-speed, high-load turns, and with heavy braking zones and flowing terrain-hugging bends in between, Phillip Island has served as an example of what a high-speed racetrack can be for over 60 years. Phillip Island's story begins before the current circuit was built. Racing on Phillip Island began in 1928. A rectangular circuit made out of the roads around the township of Cowes was used for the 100 miles road race, which is now considered the first Australian Grand Prix. A variety of layouts were used until 1936, upon which a new triangular layout was used until 1940. Racing activities then ceased as a result of World War II. In 1951, a group of local businessmen got together to build a permanent circuit on Phillip Island. The Phillip Island Auto Racing Club was formed to finance the building of what was intended to be Australia's first international Grand Prix circuit. 7,000 memberships at £10 each were sold to finance the track. The design brief was simple: create the fastest circuit in Australia. Every turn was to be designed to make the fastest and most challenging layout possible. The original design was pretty much exactly the same as what was eventually built, but with one major difference. The direction was clockwise. It drew the skepticism of the investors because the proposed start of the lap complied with Victorian road safety regulations, which required a bend of a certain speed to gradually get slower as it continued. This went against the vision of the club, who did not want this kind of gradually slowing turn, so a simple solution was proposed: reverse the circuit's direction. Thus, Phillip Island was set in stone, or rather, earth, when an Alfa Romeo traced the route of the track and certified it as above the 3-mile minimum length for international circuits. The construction of the track was fraught with delays and engineering hurdles, one of which was largely due to the bridge connecting the island to the mainland, which before the 1980s was not strong enough to hold the weight of the massive surfacing machinery needed to surface the track with durable hot mix bitumen. This forced the owners of the track to use cold mix bitumen, which in time would not stand up to the pounding it would receive from cars racing on it. The circuit finally opened in 1956 with an overwhelmingly positive reception. The status of the track quickly grew and culminated in the organisation of the Armstrong 500 in 1960. By 1962, however, the surface had indeed been destroyed by the cars, and so the Armstrong 500 moved to Mount Panorama, where it eventually became the Bathurst 1000. The circuit came under new ownership in 1964 with an eye to redevelopment, and reopened in 1967. The Phillip Island 500 endurance race was held for the first time in 1971, but by 1978 the surface had become unusable for racing once again, and the circuit was closed. The track lay mostly abandoned, aside from club sprints and historic rallies, for the next decade. Then in 1985, the track was purchased by Placetac and refurbished. The circuit was resurfaced, finally with bitumen that would last. The facilities were upgraded to modern standards, and the layout underwent its only change in the circuit's history. The Turn 4 hairpin was moved forward and tightened to avoid the lake in the middle of the facility. The refurbishment of the circuit was a resounding success, resulting in the track beginning a long history of hosting the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix in 1989 and the World Superbike Championship in 1990. Since then, along with V8 Supercars holding events there, Phillip Island has cemented its place among the elite of Australia's motorsport venues. Phillip Island has been another iRacing V8 Supercars mainstay, being introduced to the service with the original car back in 2012. Phillip Island was also the site of the first ever V8's online broadcast. This place has history in online racing as much as real life. 500 kilometres of racing awaits.